Okay. Yeah.
How's it going for you, Allegra?
Pretty good. Just trying to make sure I have everything.
I'm trying, hold on, because I trying to find the gallery.
If you go to where participants are and then like click on it,
There we go. Thank you.
no problem.
Okay. There. Thank you.
I had to do that the other day with sharing screen. I was like, how do you share a screen? Like someone explain this to me. I know I should know how.
No, I just got a new laptop at home, but I'm on my work laptop because I was like, I don't want to figure out how to Zoom live running a meeting. Like that seems like it would be a bad,
Agreed.
like, because it's a Mac, which is not what I'm on
Oh yeah,
now.
yeah.
So I just, even though that it's like pretty similar, it just seems confusing to me. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna try this yet. I will practice before I make my public appearance on new
I'll
computer.
be back in 1 sec. I gotta turn off some music.
Yeah, that's good.
See. We have, for some reason, Deborah always shows up as Philip again, double Philip.
I think it's because when I shared the link, I shared my I guess personal link instead of
Uh-huh.
the overall one. I don't know. Sometimes again, Zoom complications.
There's someone with the initials ST as an attendee. That's not somebody that is.
Not, not to my knowledge.
So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3. We're waiting for Everald. Pamela is not coming because you're here.
Do we
Mhm.
know if Pat and Angelique are coming?
I know Pat is not coming. She sent an email later in the afternoon.
Oh, she did? Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't checked my
I hadn't heard anything from Everald or Lisette that they were not coming, and I had not heard from Angelique either way.
Yeah, I did contact Angelique. I think you saw the CC that I sent you. But I haven't heard anything, so I'm hoping she's okay.
I know UMass had its last day of classes yesterday, correct?
Think
Yeah.
so, yeah. Yeah. All right, well, Lisette just will not attend. She says she's not attending.
Oh.
Lisette just, I just saw something. Oh, so she just sent it to me.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't see anything. All right.
that's why, yep, yep. And like I said, I've been just too busy running from one thing to the next, so I'm just
Right.
looking at my emails right now. Okay. So Everald, you said he's gonna attend?
I hadn't heard that he wasn't. Usually he's been pretty good. I mean, he's only missed, I think, one meeting, but he let us know that he was not going to make it when he did. So,
And Dr. Pat emailed that she was unable to make it tonight.
correct.
Yeah, I just saw that. I just saw the email from Pat Romney, so. Yep.
I mean, our agenda doesn't look like it has anything that we have to vote on other than, I mean, would we have to, excuse me. Would we have to vote to
Well,
make
probably the
a
minutes.
retreat happen? We have to vote on the minutes, that's right.
Yeah, we would have to vote on the minutes and then, you're saying any decisions around the retreat?
Right, would we have to vote on that, or is that something that we would? But then I'm also thinking the three of us are the ones that have already seen the proposal and approved of it, so
Yeah.
that might not be the most productive conversation. Not that it wouldn't be productive, but wouldn't be including anybody who.
Yeah, I suggest let's just get started and then we
Okay.
can kind of talk about the agenda. And I think like when we go through, especially the beginning portions of the agenda, we're good, and then we can discuss anything that's more kind of CSSJC specific,
So let's see, it is 6:36, and I will call to order the meeting of the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. I will go through the agenda review. So we will have announcements. We're going to table the minutes for tonight. Member reports, public comment, Crest DEI updates, Rob updates, youth empowerment updates. The finance director will not be joining us, but we do have an email from her that came in yesterday, I believe.
Yeah,
And-
we can talk about that during the youth empowerment.
Yeah.
session.
We have retreat proposal, public comment, and then items not anticipated. So that is the agenda. Does anybody have any announcements? Oh, Everald is here. That wasn't really an announcement, it was just an observation. but-
Hi.
Hey, Everald.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
How are
Do you have any announcements?
I do not
Okay.
have any announcements.
Wonderful. Deborah, do you have any announcements?
No.
I feel like we should have an announcement about Kwanzaa activities, and I feel like there isn't. I saw something the other day and I didn't bookmark it in my brain, and now I don't remember. I think there's something happening on the 28th in town, but I don't remember where or when.
So on the 26th, there is the reading of the proclamations on town steps, and that is being sponsored by Dr. Shabazz, and I am forgetting the name of the gumbo place, but with-
Sankofa Gumbo?
Yes, and then as well as I believe it's the 29th. Give me 1 second to look at a calendar here. Yes, 29th at the New Africa House. There is a celebration happening at 4 p.m.
I don't think that I have an, oh, Erica.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank Philip for the monthly DEI newsletter because it's all in there. And it's really, I think it's a very good newsletter. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you for putting that out.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's still important though, like for us to share like important dates and things like that, because again, a lot of people don't have access to computers, to websites, to the internet, and so on and so forth. So I still want us to make sure that we're sharing information during our meetings and kind of sharing important dates and things like that. Okay. But yeah, obviously awesome to have a newsletter.
And Philip, is there a way on the DEI website for people to sign up for the newsletter or to sign up to be on the DEI mailing list?
I am working on that as far as sign up. If anybody sends me an email, I will put you on there. But yes, I'm working on with our communication manager to have it kind of on our website, that sign up for the newsletter, and then it will just auto populate you into receiving it.
Thank you. So since Everald is here, that does give us a quorum, correct? Okay, so we can look at the minutes then. I'm just gonna share my screen because that helps my brain a little bit. I'm sorry. Please bear with me. It's been a long time. the past couple of weeks. Okay, let's see. So we have the October 9th meeting minutes, and those were what we had tabled last meeting for some
Yeah, I sent in my edits, so,
Edits.
yeah, so those were in there, I
Okay.
believe.
Does anybody have any issues with the October minutes, or can we vote to approve them?
Yeah, the only one that I had there that I was thinking, Angel would have like responded to, but I'm fine to just keep it as is at this point, was just, and then I had asked that question, not sure what this means, was on October 9th, was concerns from committee members have been expressed in relation to adhering to previous CSWG's agenda. But I'm fine to just leave as is and move on so that we can just adopt it.
So is there a motion? Do we have to do the motion to approve
Yeah,
minutes?
We gotta do the whole thing. That's what Philip said last time, so.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Everald. All right, roll call vote. Everald,
Aye.
Deborah,
Yay.
Erica,
Abstain, I was not there. I was not
Okay.
a member yet.
and I am a yes. So can we, do they approve with 3 and an abstention?
Yes. 'cause
Yes,
it's-
they do. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I'm bad at rules, so.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Robert.
All right, so we have November next.
So
Does anybody have any issue with November, or would anybody like to make a motion?
let me see. The only thing I sent in my edits, the only thing I had a question with, but again, I'm not sure, Angel didn't kind of look at it, was during the announcements, it said youth Angel put Deborah Youth Empowerment Center, Multicultural Center Resident Oversight Board will be discussed regarding funding. Again, just leave as is. I'm fine with that. And so that we can move forward. And then I sent in all my other edits. So
All right. So would anyone like to move to approve these minutes?
yeah,
So moved.
oh, there you go.
I will count you as a second.
I'll be a second.
Right, Everald,
Aye.
Deborah,
Yay.
Erica,
Yep.
and I am a yes. All right, so we have approved October and November's minutes. That's fabulous. Moving right along, we have any member reports?
So I went to on Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Yes, I went to a forum organized by the town talking about immigration in the time of Trump. Well, in the upcoming Trump administration. I thought it was very good. I'm glad the town did this. You had the ACLU there, you had other local organizations, and quite frankly, people that were just genuinely concerned about their neighbors in Amherst, and documented, undocumented, because things are changing and things are about to change. My only, well, not my only, but one of the observations that I took away was that what I would argue is that the people that this would severely impact, no one was there, like from the BIPOC community or from the immigrant community. These are people that, and I can appreciate if there was some kind of a concern about making themselves known, and so I understand that part. But I think it would have been absolutely beneficial if people who this information was relevant to were there. And so I would only ask and suggest, I mean, how do we get these kinds of town halls or panels, so to speak, to be advertised more to people that are, quite frankly, at the heart of all of it? And I only saw it, Philip, when I read your newsletter, so thank you for that also. I didn't know about it until the newsletter. So I don't know if you have any input as to how it was marketed or how it was advertised to people.
Yeah. So it went out as far as social media, newsletter. We marketed it to the mobile market as well as some other community organizations, nonprofits. I know that there was an effort to try and get it into the housing complexes. That seemed to be more of a issue than it needed to be advertised in that way. But what we really heard back, and I think you're correct in that there are people that may have needed to hear kind of the resources and the information, is that what we heard back was that people were afraid to even attend that. And so with that, Pamela and I have reached out to an immigration lawyer that she knows from the past, and we are trying to work with Amherst Media to have something more just kind of a video to watch that you can do at your house. You can do in the comfort of where you feel safe for those resources. So that is kind of our initiative that we are working on.
I think that's a great idea, and thank you for that. And the other thing too that people should also understand is that we're not in the time of Trump yet. We have until January 20. So this is a good time for people to actually come out and get the information and hear the information. And despite what he's saying that he's going to do, he's not going to be able to do it on day one. He can do an executive order, but it's going to get challenged, as it always does. There's going to be a stay until it's heard in the courts. So, it's, I mean, one of the things that we've seen, even under this administration, is ICE into courts and heard from people. But it's not something that's just gonna, and I get the fear and I understand the fear, and it's a very valid concern, but I think as best as we can, we should, have people hear this information, because again, if you don't know everything, then you're just living in fear without knowing that you do have rights, and that should be communicated to people as best as possible. So I think the video on Amherst Media is a great idea, and I hope it can be spread more than just to Amherst Media when it's recorded, so people can have access to it.
No, of course. And then the Human Rights Commission will definitely want me to interject that they're working on their resource page for resources for the immigrant community. So please refer anybody to that resource page. They have done a wonderful job in getting just in-depth analysis of kind of what happens before, during it, and after.
Yeah, and if I may just say one more thing, I know that Erica has her hand up. One of the key things that was said, and even though it was very simple, it was also very relevant, is that, ICE can show up at your house, but they need to have an immigration detainer signed by a judge. They can knock on your door, and if they don't have that, you have no obligation to open your door and let them in. And they cannot just barge themselves in. I know that people will still be apprehensive. They're at my door, what do I do? You don't have to open your door. You can say, slide me your warrant under my door. And if it's not a valid warrant, and that's also the thing too, if a person doesn't know what a valid warrant looks like, it's going to be. So again, I thought it'd been helpful if the affected community were there to actually fully hear and understand those small things that are very, very relevant.
Thank you, Everald. It's great to have your expertise on this panel as well. And I see Erica and Deborah have their hand up, and then I had a comment as well.
Yeah, it probably goes without saying, but I assume the video is going to be in multiple languages, or the languages that we know we probably have a higher population around here. The other thing is I think would be really important, and I'm sure you probably have done this too, is the community health center, because I know that there are lots of families who utilize the community health center, and the community health center would never ask people's status. So I think that's really, really important as well. But I also think there's a value in people who are bystanders who have legal rights to be able to know how to help somebody who doesn't. Because I do believe, like Philip said, people are really, really scared. And I know that this new administration is betting on people being scared. But I think it's important for those of us who have the legal ability to help people, because we have legal rights, for us to know the information, know where to get it, and to be able to help people who are afraid.
Thank you, Erica. Deborah?
However, do you mind like stop sharing just
Oh, yeah.
because we have something else going on? So yeah, for me, I mean, all of what, you know, everything that you've said is on point. And Philip, you know, the idea, because yeah, I have had some community people come to me and start talking about just how afraid a lot of people are right now. And the panic is real. There's some that thankfully had somewhere to go back to, and so they were able to kind of leave. But there's a lot of people that can't, because if they were to go home, it would be a dangerous situation for them, right? Them or their family members could be injured or killed. And so, you know, a lot of people have contacted me in regard to those things. It's not my area of law, so what I'd like to say is that along with making kind of a recording or what have you, we need to see how is it that, you know, if it's the ACLU or who are the attorneys, so Everett, if you're one of the attorneys or whatever, to kind of get those names out, right? And so that people can actually meet with the attorneys that are going to be able to assist them, you know, in a private way, but you'd have to get that information out, right? Like the list of attorneys, contact information, you know, website, email, so on and so forth, so that either myself, so when they come to me, I can, you know, send out the information, others can do the same thing. And if we're going to record or have sessions, right, it has to be multiple, it has to be sending it out, it should start now, and it has to continue, it has to be continual, right? It can't be a one-time, one-pot type of situation, because we know that this is at least 4 years, but you know, according to the person who's coming in, he might stay forever. So we don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, but that's, you know, so that's going to be critical. But one of the main things, contact information, that's what I've been asked, who's going to be handling these types of things, so that people can go to them like ASAP.
Yeah, you have a fair point, and I think the Human Rights Commission is really going on. Do you mind if I share my screen really quick just to show you the resource page?
Yeah, definitely.
Right here, let's see. So if you look here, that's kind of emboldened out there, and so they have kind of urgent preparation and a little bit of you know, preparing for the time being. What happens after or once you are detained, kind of resources in that way. Town of Amherst is really their focus there, but then kind of a little bit what you're going into right now in terms of, you know, where to call, places that have people on here. If you look here, that, you know, they've done all the calling themselves kind of to all these organizations, and a lot of organizations are saying, oh, right now we're at full capacity, that doesn't mean that, you know, that may change. So if you call one and they say that, you know, call another. And so in that way, we do have that. And in Mandarin, we do have some resources as well as there, or they have resources as well as there. And then for more legal resources, documents that you may need here that, you know, are important, that you just, when you're in a time of hecticness, it's hard to find. So they've, you know, kind of streamlined documents that you may need yourself. And then from there, we have done some translation for some resources in Spanish that we are able to. I think the hesitation to really fully go into Spanish is that once you click the link, it will be fully in English unless our website of whoever it is that the link that you're clicking into has translated into Spanish. So we have it translated on our website, but that doesn't mean that if you click the link that someone else has it translated in their website.
So this isn't on the DEI?
This is on the Human Rights Commission resource.
Oh, Human Rights Commission. Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. Human Rights Commission, because I just need to know, where do I grab the information? And or share the information for those that have access to a computer and that obviously can understand, English and things like.
Yep.
But I
Totally.
want to give it out to advocates because there's a lot of activist advocates out there, so that then we can get the word out as to where this information is at. And then Everald, if there's anything else, obviously, once you get a chance to look at that resource page, if there's anything else that you could add to, if there's gaps or anything missing, that would be great.
So I also wanted to add something. So I think one of the things that he said that he was going to do was he was going to try and deport kids that were born here, even though their parents may not be documented. People should understand that he cannot do that. So, and I know that's terrifying for people to think, my kids, he cannot do that. It is very clear in the 14th Amendment that people that are born here are considered citizens. And unless and until the law changes, he cannot on his own say, I am going to deport American citizens. So people should fully understand and appreciate that, hey, he can say that, but it doesn't mean that he can do that. And so if you have kids that are born here or in the middle school or the elementary school, they should still go to school. And I know that is like a big concern for people, like what's going to happen to my kid? They are citizens and they have rights. Yeah.
Thank you, Everald. I think
Great
that's
information, Everald.
a
Thanks.
very concerning thing that I've heard him say and talk about as well. So I think it's important to know that that's a constitutional amendment, that you have birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
But it's scary. It's a scary thing and it's unhinged. So one thing I wasn't sure about, and I think this was kind of in terms of outreach. I know that when the public health department was in the process of shutting down, what was it, Oriental Taste, or one of the restaurants in town, they did a lot of outreach with some of the workers there. And I don't know if reaching out to certain industries where workers, or maybe going through the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, who has established some of those relationships, might be another way of getting the information to the people who need it most.
So they were at the forum on Sunday.
Okay.
And so, and yes, just from what I heard, I think it'd be a great resource. They seem like they were very organized and very prepared.
Yeah, so we definitely are in talks with the Pioneer Valley Workers Union, as well as I'll get more into it as the update comes from TEI, but we also have done a kind of DEI Connect event where the Amherst Bid and Amherst Chamber was involved with us. And so through that, we kind of talked about immigration and kind of their aspects and roles into it. And they are really eager and want to spread as much news as possible to their people that are involved with. Then will encompass restaurants and other downtown businesses, as well as in talking with them and highlighting that we were planning to do a training of kind of know your rights. They would also like to see a know your responsibility training in terms of being a business owner and what that means and what kind of rights you have as a business owner if an authoritative figure comes in, that you can have an employees only section that will need a warrant or some type of something.
I think my other thought was about what Erica said with making sure things are translated into the most common languages. All right, is there anything else, any other member reports? And it sounds like we might touch a little bit more on this.
Well, actually, Allegra, did you didn't you attend some things for like the school budget committee or whatever? Can you report on that? Because I wasn't able to attend any of that. So what was the status of
So my understanding is that the finance, what's it called? The finance committee is still working on putting out the budget guidelines. And I believe that the next meeting is the 16th for the full town council. And I believe that is when they will likely be reviewed. So there was the forum on November, I want to say 14th, the date, it was mid-November. There was the budget forum for the town council, and there were about 30 people who made public comment. All but one were related to the school budget, and hopefully finding more funding for that, since they've already outlined some pretty significant cuts. There was one the youth member of the Human Rights Commission was talking about getting some more funding for some of the activities that they want to do, since they have all these great ideas, but not much of a budget to do anything. And then I also spoke to CRES and DEI departments being funded properly, and the need for more funding for youth empowerment. So, and I did submit the letter through the public comment portal. They still haven't, the most recent public comment publish group ends at the beginning of November, so they are not yet available to the public, but that letter was both sent to the town council and then submitted into the public comment area of the town council website, so that it would come up in a packet so that other people can see, that there was a letter sent. So that, I mean, it's still unclear. So my understanding is that there was a $5 million surplus from last year's budget. All but 1 million of those have been allocated into various capital projects, I believe. And then there was 1 million that was Paul Bachman had allocated towards roads, and that voting on that was put on hold to see if the school did come forward with a plan for anything that they might need. Again, it has to be spent on capital rather than operating budget, which is, I think, perhaps something that could be addressed and possibly changed down the road. But for this round of budgeting, it sounds like only capital projects are eligible for free cash. So, as far as I'm aware, I don't know that there has been a budget request made by the school yet. So that is all the information that I have right now. And I do believe that there was some talk during one of the finance committee meetings about not rehiring staff for CRES, and that was taken off the table, and that the full 8 positions would be still staffed, because some of the money there's less money coming from the town budget versus grants. And Camille, you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong about that. And I do know that I will leave it at that. And
You can talk more about that during Camille's
yes,
presentation, because I am interested. I have heard some things, and so I want to know where the status is right now in terms of CRES budget.
are there any other member reports, or should we move to public comment? I'm not seeing any hands. There are 4 attendees. If you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand function. We will bring you into the room. We will not engage in dialogue or comment or on the matter raised during public comment, you can identify yourself with your name and pronouns and address if you feel comfortable, and we will call on you. All right, I see one hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Lauren Mills. I believe that I've made public comment before, so um, you may remember me from past meetings. I live in South Amherst. I wanted to speak about a few things. I've been away because of family issues, but I, am a active community member and have continued to follow, what's going on in the town, even though um, I am originally from Boston. I don't, I feel concerned about what's going on because I do have children in the school system. And as I said, I'm a community person who likes to be engaged. And so I kind of wrote down some notes. I'm not the best, um, organized person because there are so many things that are going on, but I just wanted to touch on maybe 4 different things. There was a second recent fire at Butternut Farm apartment complex, and I wanted to speak on that because it was concerning that it was an electrical fire and it happened about, I think, a month ago. And the management came and to all the units and on the day of the fire and took out the lighting, I guess it was just the bulbs from like the closets and the storage closets and in all the units. So I that was a little concerning to me because when talking about access to people's homes and them feeling safe in their own homes, uh you know sometimes management can get access and find ways to um you know involve themselves into people's safe spaces and into their homes, whether it's for a reason, a legitimate reason that they feel is legitimate. It still can feel like an invasion of privacy. So I just wanted to make the your committee aware of that there's been a lot of things like that feel kind of invasive that have been going on in the complex. The second thing that I wanted to share is despite the community expressions that I've heard about the town using the ARPA funds for I guess finding information about what the needs are around youth and youth activities and programming, despite the expressions that I've heard about them going to the Donahue Institute for doing that research. It was shared that has happened, and the $500,000 that was put aside, which is still not allocated to programming, has been used. A part of that has been used I believe it's $45,500 has been used to do some kind of mapping with the Donahue Institute. And so I am not in a leadership role, but there is a lot of information coming through the town meetings and the Human Rights Commission meetings and your meetings. So I'm just saying as a resident that this is a concern for me, and I hope that it's a concern for other community residents that want to see a youth empowerment program go forward. The third thing is that I hear that there's a lot of surveys that are still continuing to ask for youth input, but I still do not see like I don't see the actual, and maybe it is because people are, not feeling that they can actually be in a safe space together. I'm not sure, but it just feels like there is not a body of community members that can actually come together and actually, talk over, these issues in depth so that we can move forward together. And so I'm just stating that there is some concern about the surveys that are still trying to gather information, but I'm not quite sure where the community members are who are supposed to be, in being the reason why we're doing these surveys, and how they are actually working together to move forward with a specific plan for youth empowerment. And you can't have a specific plan if you can't sit down and talk and meet and talk things through. So I was kind of reluctant to say a public comment because I did want to state that there is actually a equity meeting at the library this evening, but I couldn't, attend that. And I really did want to listen, but because I'm home, I wanted to at least give my voice and share what my concerns were, and hopefully it can be helpful in knowing that there are residents who still have concerns about how money is being used and how information and resources are being used that are supposed to be for youth empowerment and programming. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pat.
Good evening. Can people hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
good evening.
My name is Pat Ananibako from Amherst. So I have a couple comments I would like to make. In the last town council meeting, part of the meeting was the state of our town address. The town manager, spoke. The town council president also spoke. What is striking to me, as I was listening, as a longtime resident, I did not feel that these two people have any clue about the struggles of BIPOC resident in this town. There was no mention of how APA funds was distributed. Equity issues were glossed over. I believe one of them just mentioned CSSJC very briefly, no substance to it. Why are we allowing, especially the town manager, to disrespect BIPOC community? If Paul is a Black administrator in our town, they would have been gone long time ago. So I was just so frustrated, watching what they were doing. And there was so much praises on him. Thank you for, what you've done, this and that. Done for who? So I just wanted to put that out. Ironically, I want to thank Councillor Elisha Walker. Even though she wasn't there, she had a prepared statement that her colleague, Heather Lloyd, Councillor Heather Lloyd, read regarding the remaining APA funds. We still have some money left, and we have few more weeks. The deadline, December 31st. And Paul Bachman has refused to allocate any funding to my group, Black Business Association of IMS area. So I want to also thank, Heather Lloyd, for reading that statement. Basically, Elisha appealing to her colleagues and also, to Paul to do the right thing. Beside BBAA, there are other marginalized individuals and groups in our town who were denied APA funds. This is federal resources that residents and businesses are eligible for, including Black-owned businesses. Yet we have extra left that the town manager plans to put in the town cash reserve. How is that fair in this town? Why are we doing all the talk, having equity meeting, this and that? We're only good at talk, no action. I also want to touch on the Youth Empowerment Center that CSWG recommended 3 years ago. And up to this year, our town manager is just taking his time because it impacts mostly BIPOC youth. Why the heck are we spending $5,500 to Donahoe Institute to create digital map? Why do we have IT department in our town? What are they doing? What are they doing? Why can't they do that? Why are we still don't have Youth Empowerment Center, even though the town manager likes to focus on infrastructure, but nothing yet for the youth center? Why can't the town manager put some budget for the upcoming fiscal year, plus the APA funds, and develop the Youth Empowerment Center? It's not hard to do. CSWG, we already did the work 3 years ago. 3 years ago. But no, our town is all about status quo. And when somebody speaks up, you get retaliation. But I'll keep speaking the truth to power. I'll keep speaking up about the corruption, about injustices in our town. I also am appalled that CRES department is on a shaky ground. For our town manager not even fully fund the department speaks volume that Black lives don't matter in this town, that the plight of people that struggle with mental health and other marginalized groups don't matter in this town. Because the APD is controlling the type of non-violence calls that goes to CRES responders. So that there will be that feeling in the community that responders are not doing their work. Since CRES has been created, CSWG recommended 24/7. That's not happened yet. If this program were to benefit white people in this town mostly, it could have been done long time ago. Hello, people. And I'll stop there because I have more to say. in the next public comment. The town manager needs to go. He needs to go. He has damaged our town so much. Enough is enough.
You Miss Pat.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms. Pat.
Not seeing any other hands. We can move along and there will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting. Next on the agenda is CRESS and DEI updates. Shall we go to CRESS first?
Yes. Hi. Let's see, where do I want to start? Couple of things that I wanted to bring to light is that the responders, along with the help of Amherst College, were able to translate our pamphlets to Spanish. Also our resource guide, the Salvation Army paperwork, and our transportation agreement. We are working to get more of our paperwork translated to make it easier on folks. We also have been using our Pocket Talks to make things easier. There's been a few blips with them that we're working out with IT. They've been wonderful. I also wanted to bring up that we onboarded last Wednesday 2 new responders, Eric and Taylor. They started their training. They went first and met all of the departments. Angela Mills did Government 101 that we attended as a department, and DEI and other people who had never been through it. Gave a lot of information about the town gown, and who are the town councilors, the roles of the town councilors, and what committees they're on, and information as such. Currently, there are 3 people that are going to critical incident training, and we are looking forward to doing more trainings with the department and also specifically for the new members. On Monday, we did motivational interviewing, small block with Dial Self. Got a lot of positive feedback from that. I was out sick that day. And since that is one of our main modalities is motivational interviewing, so that is something that they are already getting involved in. We also have set up to do trying to think how many hours. I think it's a 20-hour block for motivational interviewing. And I invite anybody from the town or anyone else that wants to take it to contact me. We have some available seats. And many of the classes and trainings that we are taking, we have open spots for community members and town if they'd like to come to learn more. Let's see. I want to let folks know that our call volume right now during the cold has gone down due to the fact that it is cold, but we have had an increase of mental health calls. We have particular known folks in town that have many dealings with APD that are no longer they're not involved with APD any longer because CRESS has been taking care of these calls. And one of the things that's been happening is that this is freeing up the time. These folks are well known. Some of the other things that we've been doing that have also enabled people to not have to call APD or businesses is that they have been calling us on our number to speak about getting some services, and we've been able to refer them out to get services. We also have one of the things that's major happening that, excuse me, let's look at my notes. Some of the things that are happening is that I'm working on a culture change. So culture change is slow. And one of the things is that for me, it's a double culture, that I'm repairing the harm that was done from the inaugural director, in that a lot of the relationships with the town and some of our resources were harmed. So I'm doing a lot of reparative work due to the fact that some of the things were overpromised to the community. And as I've said before, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. I stand by it. It's me. Also, some of the other things that are happening is that we were finally notified that we were awarded the DPH Equitable Approaches to Safety Grant that was held up. We had hoped to have been notified if we were going to be giving this back in June, and did not find out until into October. And this grant is only through June of 2025. So working feverishly to get trainings and other things done for the community. And something else that, was spoken about was the dispatch, and how dispatch that there are new dispatchers and that we are working on that relationship, and we are being called. APD has asked for us specifically for different calls. Chris also, I was at the fire department today because they had 2 people that were sworn in, and one of the chief mentioned, the new chief, that they were very pleased with how Crest responded to the fire calls, one of which was at Butternut Farm, or actually both of them were in the last couple of months. And something else that I don't think people understand, and this is about dispatch, that it usually takes between 1.5 to 3 years to get on dispatch, fully on dispatch. So we are right on target. The SOPs are being still worked on and are getting to the finalization stage. And I guess my main thing is that I really want folks to understand that in establishing, we're a standalone department, which is different than a lot of the other responders. And when establishing independence, we're still in the system of public safety. So there's a lot of work to be done with our partners, the fire and the police. And those are important relationships, and those are coming along. The other thing is that one of the things that I spoke about last month is that we're building sustainability into this department. And I've been really pleased to hear from various folks about that, because if we don't have a firm base, then this is not going to be sustainable. And I truly believe in the mission. I truly believe in this work. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So I have a few questions. That's good to hear that you all are doing some translation of some of the information in Spanish and using the Pocket Talk. So hopefully that will continue to be helpful. I do have some questions around the new responders. Can you give more about their background, like, their experience and, and especially working with BIPOC and marginalized communities. And whether they have any other languages that they speak, things like that, so that we have a little bit more base in
So
terms of expertise.
what I can say is that they have a wealth of experiences that through personal life and also from various employment. They both have worked with people with mental health difficulties, also with substance use. The one has worked in a college arena, and the other one has worked with places such as the Boys Club, worked in public school systems, and also worked for a behavioral health program as a supervisor in a home for teenagers. So, and both are BIPOC. And we're very excited. I think they bring just what is needed into CRESS.
Okay, good. So that means we're up to like 6. So are you all going to be able to hire the 2 more?
Well, at this point right now, we're working on just getting everyone settled into their roles, and then we will start again with looking into hiring more people.
And right now, due to the budget, it doesn't seem like an assistant director, nothing has been added to be able to.
Nothing has been done at this time, but I mean, I would appreciate all the help I can get to get an assistant director. I think it is needed.
Definitely, that was one of the, asks that we had put forward throughout this, entire year last year, because we know that obviously CRESS would benefit from having that type of assistance. But okay.
I appreciate that.
So, again, and I know that, we ask this on a monthly basis. And I think, and I'm sure, Camille, you've been hearing this because I've been hearing it. If I've been hearing it, you've been hearing it, which is basically kind of like, the budget, right? And this budget season and, town councilors making, proposals for CRESS to, for CRESS's budget to freeze, basically making, kind of communications that CRESS isn't being productive, and all of those things kind of really putting CRESS on the chopping block, because of, and we understand, right? Money is always short, whereas we're saying we want CRESS to increase, right? We want it to be 24/7. We want it to work into the evening hours, which a lot of times that's when a lot of the crisis happens and things like that. And so I think sometimes our questioning CSSJC is taken out of sorts, but the reason why we ask for the data, the reason why we're asking for, kind of, dispatch to be on board, and I know you're saying 1 to 3 years, but for me, it needed to be yesterday. For me, it's not on mark, it's not on point, it needs to be yesterday, because without the data, without showcasing, okay, these are the things that are occurring. And I understand that you kind of, talked about, the past director kind of saying XYZ PDQ. I don't know, obviously I wasn't there on the day-to-day, but I do know that one thing that the past director used to do was share data with us, which we appreciated a lot, And so, and I think that goes towards, right? When you share the data, when you share the fact that, CRESS is doing the things that we said, then it helps us to be able to advocate for CRESS out and about, because we are getting this information. We are out there saying, no, CRESS needs to be fully funded. CRESS needs to be, the budget needs to be increased, and so on and so forth. So,
I understand. So one of the things I can say is that due to the fact of the EAPS funding not coming in, we were not able to continue our work with Qualtrics to get our data set. Okay. And also because of the way that the EAPS funding, the equitable approaches to public safety, we have a main person that we speak to on a monthly basis, which will be 2 weeks. Yeah, the last week of the month. We'll be talking to him about how we go about getting our data up. And one of the things that's coming out of this is that they are also looking at data and asking for different things. And what I'm really excited about is that I really hope that during the retreat, that by time we have the retreat, that I can be able to get all of this information together to share. All right. And so that we can work forward from there. So what we have now for data is I think like it just says like the numbers. It says what the numbers are, the percentage and everything else. Like for last week, you know, I'm just looking at this here. It was talking about the 22 interactions with neighbors. That was up 37% from last week, where it was 16 interactions. And talking about the resources that we gave. Also, there was one transport, but a lot of the work, the problem with the numbers is it doesn't really talk about the qualitative part of it. And that's the reason why we really want to get Qualtrics in so that we have one steady system of having all of our information in that explains, you know, the numbers to what we're doing, which I found out. I've also been doing a lot of research on other departments that are doing alternative response, and Amherst is totally different than any of the other ones. For one of the things that is really big, like our sister city, if you want to go like Northampton or even Cambridge, are primarily done from a Department of Public Health or from a clinical background, whereas Northampton has clinicians. They don't go out. They have what's called like a living room where people come in for only X number of hours. And what's interesting about that is that people are calling us from Northampton for services while they're actually in the Northampton site. It's kind of interesting. Some of the other things is the same as like Cambridge. Cambridge, their teams are clinician and medic. So I read through the CSWG report again with fresh eyes. I printed it off and looked at it again. And the way it was originally dreamed up to be was very clinical. And what has turned out is that we have very much a BIPOC team, you know, BIPOC majority now of people in Crest that are dealing with things from more of a lived experience and with a wealth of community knowledge. And that's something else. One of the new responders actually grew up and went through the Amherst school system. So I think that the numbers and everything else, those are coming. Those are coming.
Yeah, but I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I want to correct you a little bit in terms of, you know, your interpretation of CSWG report, because yeah, I mean, we never conceptualize it as a clinical program.
Well, no, not as clinical. I was going to
Oh.
say the teams were the original way it was written there. I saw was a social worker, a clinician or something, and a medic is what I read.
No, we always wanted Crest to partner up and to be able to, you know, provide, right? And at first it was, I forget which department it was, but it was like a BIPOC, African centric like mental health department to provide some of those services, but it wasn't kind of just clinical focus. But there should be that.
Oh, no, it's not. I know. So that is one of the questions that I had wanted to ask about was that I was looking at the PowerPoint and it was talking about providing services to the community members and to connect community members to appropriate local social services. So in that way, that is something that we definitely are right on top of with our guide and everything else. So I will say this also, that people know that Crest is there and that we do have a network for them with also the QR code and everything on the back of it. One of the calls that came through was somebody that was just getting out of a mental health facility in another town calling us. And it was kind of interesting to hear that, you know, they know that the services that we're providing here are very much above what is being provided elsewhere. So that part I'm thrilled with. Oh,
And I'll just say, I'll just ask one more thing and then I'll kind of turn it over to Allegra, because Allegra, I think you could talk more, given your background, towards kind of like the clinician point of view, especially in terms of wildflower and things like that. I don't know if you'd be willing to kind of, you know, ask some of those questions. But my last comment would just be in terms of what you were saying, that, yeah, you know, we always envision, CSWG envision Crest to be independent, an independent department. Now, we didn't envision you all not having, you know, of course you have to have communication with the APD, with the EMTs, with the fire, with the other public safety services, yes. However, we never wanted it to be a co-responder model or anything like that. And so that's the thing, because that's the other part that I've been hearing out there, and information that's been coming to me, is that there's a lot of push for Crest to become a co-responder, model where Crest is going out with the police. That would be a huge no. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Because that was never the case. Now, we envisioned, obviously, there will be a time where the police might be called, because, right, the situation was communicated as violent, but then when they get there, they see that actually Crest would better be served to come in, and then they call in Crest, or vice versa, right? That could end up happening where you come in, and then you see that, wait a minute, we need the police's assistance. Yes, that's going to happen, but it should never be a co-responder
No.
situation where then Crest is also underneath the APD or anything like that. So those are the things that we've always been very clear about, and we want to make sure stays very separate.
And that is one of the things that really attracted me to this position, was the fact that I am on par with the chief of police and the chief of the fire department as a director, and the autonomy that I have as such. And the fact that there is, you know, Gabe is the newer chief, you know, the new chief, and that Lindsay is the new chief of the fire department, that we have a good working relationship. And I will say this, that as you know, we are developing more and more of the relationship also with dispatch, et cetera, that there are the police on the shifts that are calling us directly for issues that they know that are not for them. So I think that things are moving along. And, you know, I'm the type of person that I kind of want to, I jump in, but at the same time, when I'm moving forward, I'm also very aware. And I want to make sure that things are moving in the right direction as they should be, instead of just pushing things before they're ready. So I think that now, after 8 months of being here, I am better understanding the culture, and also better understanding the culture of our neighbors, and also the town, and how things work. And I believe that, you know, working with Chief Ting and everything else, that he is very much on board with Crest. And it's moving in the right direction.
Others that may have questions?
Erica,
Go ahead, Allegra, you go first.
So I guess my recollection of things, and this could be incorrect, but I believe that part of the original EAPS grant did have some money that was supposed to be set aside for like some sort of mental health component, which was where I believe originally it had been what is it, the African Diaspora
Yeah.
Mental Health Association out of Springfield. And then it ended up with Wildflower coming in with some of the groups that they were doing. And it's my understanding that the funding through EAPS had lapsed like in June or something, and they had been able
Yes.
to piece together some of their own funding, but the Wildflower is no longer providing services in Amherst. Which is, I think, a disservice to the community personally. I think they were doing some great things at the, they were doing some work at the Survival Center, some groups at the library and whatnot. So I hope that perhaps there's a opportunity to revisit that, whether that's through CRESS or, through somebody else. But I do think having peer-led mental health support services more visible and more available is a great resource for the community, as well as having some sort of clinical component. Overall, the mental health picture has somewhat changed in the past year and a half or so. There's been this push for like less emergency intervention in a hospital and more so
Yes.
out in community behavioral health centers, of which the Amherst area is covered by Northampton, which is CSO. But the idea is that there are these centers around that are kind of urgent care. They do triage. If you're in an emergent crisis, they will see you immediately. They, the lag time for somebody who just might need new mental health services, but isn't, in crisis is kind of, they're saying like 14 days. I'm not sure that that's entirely accurate.
So just to interrupt you if you don't mind for a moment. I do want to get it on the books that Massachusetts does have the behavioral health line. Okay. It's 833-733-2445, and folks can call or text. And they came in to talk to us about some of the things that they offer, which is they can offer help with getting a clinician, emergency behavioral help line, emergency behavioral help, and their people are trained and will stay on the phone. So the people that are on the line is 24/7 are, I think they're bachelor's level and some master's level clinicians, but not licensed, who are then overseen by licensed clinicians. So that is one of the things. And also when you talked about like Wildflower, I am in the process of doing the request for proposals for different entities of things we are looking for. And I can just say this, by looking at the old proposals that came through, I don't know how those were done, because the way that they have to be done now is we have to go out and get 3 proposals from 3 different agencies, and it's a bidding. So, and I have spoken to Wildflower and other partners and let them know that I'm working on this. So those should be going out in the next couple of weeks.
So there might be, again, a behavioral health component
I
as a
want
partner.
I want there to be. I think it's very important that we have a behavioral health component.
Absolutely. And I think I would just say that from my experience and understanding of Amherst as a place that has a lot of services available and a lot of social workers and a lot of therapists and a lot of psychologists, not all of them necessarily accept all sorts of insurances. So I think that that can be certainly marginalizing for folks who might have like Mass Health or other public insurance. is just things that I've
Agreed.
heard through people
Agreed.
looking for
I,
help.
yes. I
So,
know through my previous job, which was a nonprofit. So I do understand that. That is very true.
so that was, I mean, I think just it's good to hear that there will be some other components that Crest will be working with. And
I do believe in peer-led groups. I
Yeah.
think that for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to work with someone that understands what they're going through and what they've been through. So those are the type of things that I'm looking into. But again, these proposals, and I've been told that they cannot be, I cannot put them out to one agency. It has to go to multiple agencies.
meaning you can't only invite one agency to apply, or you can't only
Right.
accept the application of one agency.
I cannot write only to one agency. It has to be a minimum of 3.
Okay, no, that, I mean, that
So
makes-
that was what I was trying to figure out. That's been this week's conundrum.
and to go back to the like clinical versus peer support, I do think that and at least my conversations with some of the CSWG members in the conceptualization stage, there was, I think, a group that I was organizing with that was very much like, well, it's really great to have lived experience, and that should be, that shouldn't preclude somebody from being able to be a responder. And I think that, again, all the places do things differently, and some of the models that were available at the time that CSWG was doing all their research were, there was a lot of clinician based, but I think that having a component such as like a relationship with, whether it's ADMA or Wildflower or whoever else might be coming in to do services, complements the work of the response teams. And I hope, Deborah, that pays.
I truly agree with that. And I think that the relationship that the responders have with the community is bar none. It is what makes Crest, is that people go out and know us and know that we are trauma-informed, anti-racist, that we provide de-escalation, motivational interviewing. We meet people where they're at. We're not out there to therapize them. We're there to listen, and to bring them to information and help them with resources. And if we can't find something, usually what happens is we know somebody who can.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. I have 2, well, one is a comment with regard to data. You actually said that the work that you're doing is helping the APD to reduce focusing on issues that's really not in their realm. That's data. And if you can capture that, it actually decreases their involvement with individuals or with situations that really shouldn't be in their sphere because they're not trained to do it, or it's just, it escalates versus de-escalates. That is really excellent data, because that is time saved in terms of time's money saved on their end that you are stepping in for. So please make sure you get that data. That's really important impact data. So I just wanted to state that.
And
The
just
other,
and do you mind if and to answer that, and that is one of the things that we're working with the SOPs on. And also the big thing about it is because the reports through APD are CORI, and I don't know what CORI stands for. But
The criminal background checks, just.
Yeah.
right. So in order to look at that data, we have to have a higher level. And along with doing the standard operating procedures and our policies, that is something that is going along with that, so that we can sit down and have, and I've spoken to the town manager about this also after coming back from Cambridge, that they have a weekly meeting of all the invested stakeholders so that they can talk about the calls to debrief. Okay, well, we went to this call and it should have been this one's call, or we met up at this call and, here's how it went. And here's the data of how many calls that their care team went to this week, and what other calls should they be going to, or what calls should they not been going to. So I think that's a very important component that it should be added to what we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it will actually show them that they'll reduce their resources, can better focus on what it is that they do around criminal issues or violent issues, and you are actually picking up some of the areas that they shouldn't be focusing on. So that's a win-win for the town. Okay, the second one is around the budget. So first, I think I heard Allegra saying that there was some discussion from the finance committee not to fund your positions. I think part of it is I'm not clear on actually how you're funded totally. I see there's a DPH grant, but I think it was for $400,000 and it's very specific. Then there's
459.
459. And then
Yes.
there's town
So-
funding that also
Yes.
provide, okay. DPH.
So the town funding provides for my position, okay, the responders, and as of January 1st, will provide for our admin. Oh my goodness. Implementation manager for the grant is funded through the grant.
Okay, yeah, okay. So generally, my experience, and so this is more inquisitive, my experience is that if I'm part of an agency or a town municipality, have you been asked to submit a budget and to rationalize why you need it to the town manager or to your supervisor? Because I mean, part of it is that I'm hoping that the town manager is advocating for you and for the service. Because I mean, it feels a little uncomfortable hearing that, the finance committee thinks that it should defend Cress. I mean, I think hopefully that there is, that you've been involved, you've been asked to submit your budget, what you think is important, including an assistant director and why that's important. And hopefully that's being pushed forward.
Well, that's what we are in talks about, and the budget is our budget is a very slim budget in that it pretty much covers personnel and a small amount for training and office supplies. It's not that big of a, but most of it is just the personnel. So that is why, to me, it's really important to get everything that we can done now. So that moving forward, that we have the personnel that we need and the support.
But it's
Thank
good
you.
questions that you're bringing up, Erica. Maybe one of the things that we want to look at is the breakdown on the budget of Cress, so we have a better understanding of it. Because again, the thing is that we're out there, we're advocates for Cress. So if we don't have the understanding of what the budget breakdown is and what's needed, because the thing is like we want them to obviously add more positions, then, we need to have that understanding of the budget in order to ask for those things and counter these negative, feedback that's out there, a lot of from town councilors and others who are trying to, freeze and or decrease the budget of Cress, or change it into different model, like a co-responder under the APD and things like that, which that would be a total violation of what it is that, Cress was, created, envisioned, everything to be here in the town of Amherst. So, very critical. But yeah, I mean, is that something that you could maybe for the next month provide us with a breakdown of the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I don't think I got and unless I missed it, and I'm sorry, Eric, if you're not quite finished, I'll be very quick. I don't think I got a definitive answer. Do you actually submit a budget for Crest?
Yes. Well, so during the last, we have a budget. Okay. I don't know about submitting a budget. We have an already stated budget that was set up, and that is what we're going off of.
You need to
Okay.
resubmit it every budget season?
And that's a good question that I haven't gotten into so far. Is just, because when I came in, we had just submitted the budget. And I had to defend a budget that, I knew very little about. This next time, next spring, I'll be much better informed.
Yeah, you will have an opportunity to submit a budget, and I know that the previous budget that was submitted was by the implementation team before your hire. And my knowledge of that is that it was submitted and what was presented to finance seemed to be different, but that is a conversation that is above me.
Okay. Thanks for that information.
Erica, were you finished?
Yes, I was. Thank you, Everell.
Okay, so I only have one question. So over the many months that we've been here, it was my understanding that and correct me if I heard this incorrect. I thought we had a contract signed with this company for reporting, and it was paid for and everything. Did I hear you say that we lost funding for that?
It's not that we lost funding for that. What happened is that there was a certain amount of time for the funding. And again, I've been here for 8 months. So a lot of this was set up before I came. And what was done during the interim team was a lot of stabilization. So there was not a lot of work moving forward on, what was to be done with the data, how they wanted the data presented, and etc. So what's happened now is that as we have learned from previous reports and also from what the EAPS, the grantees, the grantors want from us for data has changed how we're doing things. And while we had a basic working model, we had to purchase additional time to add components to it to fit what I was looking at for data and also what EAPS was looking for data. So we purchased an additional 20 hours of time, and that is what we're working on now.
So does that mean now that we've been asking for reported information for quite some time. So given that we've exhausted the number of hours that were allotted, does that mean that we have to go back to the drawing board and try to get more funds to get the information?
No, not at all. What we're doing now is we're finding the information that we already have and creating new data sets.
Okay, so what they were able to provide, you can work from that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So this is just additional help so that we get everything that we get all the information that we wanted, demographics. We wanted the ability to go in and say after we received a call, because right now we're using Microsoft Office or Word or something. I don't even mess with that. And the way the form was set up, once it was put in, nothing could be changed. Whereas now, because we work in teams of 2, there's 2 different voices. So one person looks at the form or creates the form, the other person proofs it before it's put through. Something else that was happening was people were coding things inaccurately. So that's some of the other things that we're working through, is really drilling down on what constitutes what type of call. What is, say, an assist, a town department versus what is a mental health call. So say, in one of our trainings while we were at, there was someone that was having a mental health difficulty on the back steps of town hall. They coded that as a mental health call, when actually, because it came through town hall, the first one should have come that it was a town department, and then the second part of it was a mental health call. And we're doing all that for accurate reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Shall we move on to DEI?
All right. Let's see. I kind of talked a little bit out of term with some information early on, so I will try not repeat so much. And one thing that I just wanted to say for the Resident Oversight Board is that we've had 2 meetings, and I see that it's on your agenda. And so I will let Deborah go more into detail on it. So I will bypass that to save some time in that regard. Youth empowerment. So we do have a survey going out to gather kind of direction from youth. I know when I was on this committee, and just as I have left, that was a key component, you know, really hearing from youth and what it is they want, not what adults can make and create in terms of programming and direction. That has been shared with the schools, with the newspapers, with just about everybody and anybody who would hear me out to share our survey. So the hope is to gather as much data as we can. Last month we did kind of a soft rollout with 15 kids from various both middle school, high school, and BIPOC individuals, just to kind of get a tester and filler out of the survey. You know, does it make sense for a 7th grader? Does it make sense for an 8th grader? And those results were very interesting, just kind of wording, you know, I think as we grow older and get older, we use words that may seem relevant to us, but not relevant to children. That we definitely heard that on our survey, just kind of like, oh, well, I didn't answer that because I didn't understand what that meant, or I didn't get what that was. And so we definitely catered it into a format that was hopefully more accessible to youth conducting and filling out the survey.
If I may pause you for 2 seconds. So I understand the survey going out to the youth to say, okay, what would you like to see in the Youth Empowerment Center? Are the results, or let me rephrase it, is having an actual physical center conditioned on feedback from the youth? Because I think we've been having this conversation in 2 parts. Like, we haven't heard much about, okay, the town has committed to an actual physical location. We have a budget for this location. We're talking to these people, you know, to these developers about where this can go or potentially where it can go, because we've also had the conversation about where can we actually put a center that is accessible by people with no transportation. So I get that we're doing this survey about what the youth would like to do, but where are we in terms of an actual physical location and an actual center?
That's correct. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there, is that it's kind of a 2-part conversation. In terms of a center, I cannot give you any information because I don't know it, not because I'm hiding information, as to anything developing from a center. I know that on the email chain that was forwarded to you all from finance with the ARPA money that was there, that is as much knowledge as I know to it in terms of a commitment to a center. What DEI is doing and what I have been tasked with from the town manager is to come up with youth programming, youth empowerment programming. So that is what my focus is. And I completely understand and know that a center is the end goal, yet I am not a part of that. Can I say that the survey will help in terms of creating a center? I would imagine so. I mean, if we show that, you know, there's programming that, once we get it started, that, you know, 20 kids come, 25 kids come, whatever the numbers are, is that it's a very clear indication that the programming can exist and be successful, and therefore a center is very much needed.
So, do you have any more to talk about in terms of the survey, or can we ask you some questions in regards to it?
You can ask me questions in regard to, do you want me to finish up my report, or just, I'm okay either way, it doesn't matter to me.
No, all right, finish up your report and then I'll circle back to the questions that I have around the survey.
Okay, sounds good. So Everald mentioned that about our event that we had on Sunday in terms of immigration and ICE and just our immigrant population. The HRC is doing a lot in terms of the resource page that I shared with you all, and as well as just gathering information in terms of, you know, where people can turn to, what organizations people can turn to. So I would say that if you have a community member that is really concerned, I think directing them to the HRC, they have created kind of a subcommittee within their group to kind of handle that. I think their information is pretty spot on with resources in terms of Amherst area. DEI, we had a Connect event, which was really gathering DEI colleagues around. I sent it out to colleges as well as to the BID, nonprofits, organizations. And our goal for this group is to kind of meet quarterly to update each other in terms of, you know, what's coming up, what we can use help with, but really a brainstorm type of group. And so our first one that we focused on was immigration. And so I had mentioned the HRC in terms of what they were doing. And one of the resources that actually the DeSanti Health Center provided myself, Cress, other people, and the Bing Center was these red cards that are developed by, I forget what organization right now, but they have ordered a ton of them at the DeSanti Health Center in multiple languages. I know that they are sharing them in terms with Cress and other departments in town. The town manager, I have sent him an email. He's looking into what it would take to order some in languages and all that. And the BID was very much, as I stated earlier, was very interested in it, as well as the chamber, and they were very much just like, yeah, we should order these. This should be given to everybody that we can, basically. So information is just going to be shared with this group quarterly. You'll see it in the newsletter, actually. So just highlighting the newsletter. The goal is to really be as forthcoming with as much information as we can and just have it located in one place. So I'm really pleased to hear that the newsletter was helpful this month in terms of knowledge and events coming up. The events that I stated earlier, Kwanzaa, and then I have on January 21st, there is the National Day of Racial Healing that the DEI department will be doing, and that is kind of a kickoff event in terms of our Becoming Beloved Community Member series, as well as we do monthly staff trainings. Every third Friday of the month, we have topics that we're going through with staff. And then we are doing department trainings coming up in February. So that is one thing that in Pamela's role of kind of DEI director and in and on the internship leadership team for Crest kind of fell off last year. So we are really spearing that ahead and making sure that departmental trainings as a whole are being done in terms of DEI. And I think that is it for me.
So when you're saying departmental training, are you talking about with the APD, fire, so on and so forth?
Yep.
And what will those trainings kind of deal with?
Really, we're looking at equity issues in terms of that, and Lindsay and both Gabe we're figuring out a schedule, because on their operating schedule, you know, they have blocks to where people are on 24/7. So making sure that we get everybody in terms of their departments. Of the fire, they go A through B. So on days that we can get everybody.
Okay, good. All right, thank you for the report. Again, as I said with Crest, I would really, the newsletter obviously was helpful and things like that, but it would still be a good thing to just kind of have a written kind of report to us, as opposed to, just a verbal one, because then you could kind of build from that on a monthly basis. So I'm still gonna put in a plug for that. But in terms of the youth survey, one is I get that, I saw it shared with the schools and things like that. But my concern is making sure that who are the youth that are responding to the survey, and making sure that there is a large number of BIPOC youth, or youth from different, cultures and countries and everything. So I don't know if the surveys in other languages or anything like that are going to be able to get those type of numbers. And so for me, have you shared the survey with like the ABC program, POCU, like Mary Custard, so it needs to be targeted specifically to these groups, right? Cambodian groups, so on and so forth, right? It has to be targeted to the specific, BIPOC groups, because that's my concern, right? My concern is who, which youth are sharing this information. Of course, the Youth Empowerment Center is going to be for all youth, but we did say it would be BIPOC youth-led, and it would be BIPOC youth-focused in terms of obviously bringing in all of those aspects that, BIPOC youth and marginalized youth would be able to kind of grow in and enhance and challenge themselves with. So I guess for me, are you able to respond to that first, in terms of like, who is this going out to? Has it been targeted to specific populations? How long is it being targeted? Once you all have the responses back, will there be a report made to us and to community members in terms of the outcome? And then, yes, and then when it's, once we have the outcome, will we as CSIJC be able to also engage in the process of what type of programming, is necessary, as opposed to a lot of times, our group is set out to the side, and then, and then it's more so kind of like after the fact, oh, this is what we're doing, things like that, as opposed to engaging us throughout the process. But starting again with targeted, survey populations, were you all able to do that?
Yeah, so one group that I haven't done, and I just wrote it down right now, was ABC. I think that would be a great group to reach out to, so definitely get that done. But in terms of targeted groups, yes, I sent an email out to the individual groups that kind of are BIPOC-led focus, myself, to send it out to them and reach out to the staff liaison person of those groups, as well as sending it to Georgia at the
Georgia?
Yep, at the school, that she deals with all clubs and community members, so that, as well as going to Morning Movement, which has a large BIPOC-led group, and then as well as going to other various organizations that I thought would come about in terms of, BIPOC-led focus. I think you said it well. The survey is out there. It's meant for everyone. Of course, I would love the results to come in terms of focus on BIPOC youth. I cannot make people take surveys, so please, if you could, encourage individuals that to help and take the survey, that would be wonderful. In terms of kind of just a quick look at it, it is majority BIPOC right now, responses. As things come in, I will definitely keep you all updated, and that is definitely my goal coming in. The survey is meant to end January 31st, so my hope is February I can come in and have some type of data for you all. And I think in October, or I forget what meeting it was that I came in, I definitely would love for you all to be participatory in terms of, coming up with programmings that makes sense and that we can really gear towards, making it successful. And I think the one that we are rolling out kind of just as a tester and that we are doing that I've mentioned is the entrepreneurship one that's happening in March. And that is going to have BBAA have speakers come in and talk to youth individuals. So I'm really trying to be thoughtful and make the programming as successful as possible, but of course I welcome any collaboration.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you can, I think, yeah, you did mention the entrepreneurship. If there's any other information in regards to it, obviously that would be great. But yeah, I think the only other thing, obviously you shared it with us, is that to also share it with any other community members too, with the survey that that have that connection, because that was one of the great things that Seventh Generation did, as you know, was really kind of go out and sometimes, I mean, that Philip is just like it's email, but then a follow-up with a phone call or follow-up with, a meeting or what have you, to really kind of make that extra connection to say that this is really important. We're trying to get this information so that then we can figure out the programming, because yeah, I mean, right now, and obviously that's going to be something else when you talk about is the Youth Empowerment Center, but the programming is important to showcase that this is very much needed, which we had already showcased through the CSWG report. And that's why one of the recommendations was, to create the Youth Empowerment Center. And because of the kind of hee-haw, this and that the town has been having for these past 3 years, we don't have a center and we haven't had really, any programming. And then in terms of programming creation, of course, yes, morning movement, I'm glad that it's happening, and I guess there's the Rise 1, 2, but there's still a lot of with both programs, and I do want to know more around it. But it's like this is very heavy, kind of police presence. I think court presence, so on and so forth. I mean, I could see the police showing up and kind of going here and there, but I don't know about the continual presence of the police at this program. So I'm hopeful that whatever programming DI is going to be working on won't be heavy police presence, because again, I don't know what kind of messages we're also sending to our BIPOC youth when it's kind of like, that kind of, presence in activities and meetings and so on and so forth. So that makes me pause and it makes me concerned, so that's why I want us to be engaged in the programming, because, I don't want to see more kind of programming where, the presence is one where young people, can't, not can't, but hopefully can be their full selves. That's the way I'll put it.
Yeah, totally. I think that is our goal, as well as your all's for the DI department in terms of youth programming.
Other questions for Philip?
I had a few. One was just in terms of the survey. You said there were some responses. Do you have a number of how many people have responded so far?
Yep, it's last time I checked, it was either 49 or 50. So why don't we just say 50?
Okay. All right, that's great. And so I know we asked Camille, so I'll ask you as well, what is the DEI budget looking like? Are there asks that you guys made this year? Is there concern, celebration?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most departments, we would love to have more, and I think that and the successfulness of some of these things, it is really needed. We are a department of 2, and minus both mine and Pamela's salaries, our operating budget is only $13,000 for the entire year. And so, as you can imagine, we are not successful in terms of getting things done with that amount of money. We do have opportunities to, write for grants and do grants, and I know that we do have some grants that were secured. Yet, as I just stated, we are 2 people, and this youth programming is one initiative that we are doing. The resident oversight board is another initiative we're doing, and everything else kind of that comes into our lap, we are still doing. And so I think that we are stretched thin in terms of some asks.
Was there any additional funding that you put forward as needed to the town manager, or?
I know that Pamela did write up a memo and sent it over. I don't know anything other than that. That would be a question for Pamela, and then I would imagine Paul in finance.
I think that's it for me. Erica, you didn't have any questions? Everald, if you're there and you have any questions.
No, thank you. I asked my questions. Thank you. Thank you, Philip.
So shall we move over to the resident oversight board update from Deborah? No, she's off camera right now. There she is. Deborah, do you want to give an update about the resident oversight board?
Well,
meeting?
yeah, I had to step away. Can you all hear me? I had to step away to go to the bathroom.
Sorry.
The necessities of life.
Yep.
Did we talk at all about the youth empowerment center itself, though?
Not yet.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, I do want us to at least address it. I understand that Philip or Camille won't be able to talk towards it, but I think it's important for the community to know, because I know that. Go
Do you
ahead.
want me to pull up the email that we received?
Yeah, if you could, that would be great.
Sorry, I said that and now I am looking for it.
Do you want me to read it? I can read it too while you're looking for it.
Let's see. I think I found it.
You found it. Okay. So thank you for sharing it. And you know, we did receive this from the finance director, the town finance director, Melissa Zawadzki. I might be, you know, messing up her last name, and I apologize for that. In regards to our question, one, we had asked her to attend our November meeting and then our December meeting. And I've let her know that because of, especially because of this statement, we want to invite her to our January meeting, you know, because it will be important for us to have someone that can speak to it. I know we had Ray, you know, previously, and Ray was able to speak to some of it. But I think, you know, given that she's a finance director, she'll have more information in regards to the actual budget and what is actually occurring. And we need to have an opportunity for the kind of the questions, the back and forth, so that the community can be knowledgeable in terms of what's happening. And when Ray came in a few months ago, he did say that. He did say that, you know, it had to be committed by the 31st and then spent by, I believe it was 2026. Yeah, it was like 2026 to be spent by. And as of right now, as we can see, you know, on the email, as of now, we have approximately, well, first it started out with the $500,000. And then, you know, what was it? About, you know, 5,000 something was used for the Donahue Institute, which of course, thank you, Melissa, for, you know, sharing that, because we've been knowing that the Donahue Institute was involved in doing some type of, well, comprehensive to develop, Donahue Institute to develop a comprehensive inventory of existing youth programs. The inventory included interactive map, and so on and so forth. But it's, you know, one, it's a white-led, organization. And we were asking this of the town manager when we had asked him questions, you know, a few months ago, and he was very reluctant to tell us that the Donahue Institute had actually been, contracted to provide those services. So one, we want to know what is the outcome of this mapping, right, that occurred. We haven't received any outcome in regards to it. So there was some money. And now, as of now, we have approximately $454,500 remaining from the original allocation, and the ARPA fund contract is ending December 31st, 2024. While no final decisions have been made on how best to utilize these funds, I want to assure you that both the town manager and the town are fully committed to advancing the goals of the youth empowerment program. So if it needs to be allocated by the 31st, what is happening here, right? And I know one of the callers, Ms. Pat, had talked about possibly is going back to reserve. We had for 3 years been talking about establishing a youth empowerment center. When Ray came, he very eloquently was saying, well, we need to know this and this and this. No, you have the money. If you have the money, you put it in the place that it needs be, which is into this youth empowerment center. Can't say that you're committed to the youth empowerment center and you have $454,500 and you're willing to just not commit that, let that go, and then say that you're committed to the center. No, those two things don't go hand in hand. That doesn't make sense to me, you know? And so, and I posed that question as soon as we got this information from Melissa. I've posed that question to the town manager. So what does this mean, right? Is this going to be committed by the 31st, or what are you going to do with this money? Which for me, basically is saying that it's not going to be committed to the Youth Empowerment Center. I'll be very pleasantly surprised if it is. So for us on this committee, you know, I really feel like, you know, I've been bamboozled, you know, out of $454,500 to the youth of our town, right? If this money is not going to be earmarked for this center. So, you know, for us on the CSSJC, this is alarming and very concerning. And I need a response from the town manager to let me know what is happening here. And we need to meet with Melissa, you know, next month to tell us what is happening here, because this is not good.
So I guess I have, and I know this is not a question directed at the person who can actually provide an answer, but a question, I guess, rhetorically. If the $454,000 and they're proposing putting anything that hasn't been spent in cash reserves, which I believe, again, like we had heard about earlier, can only be used for capital projects, then is there a way to earmark that for a center once that comes up down the road? Or is that something that, Erica?
My feeling is that it shouldn't be allowed to do that. If this was earmarked for Youth Empowerment Center, and what we're talking about is that ARPA requires that we obligate the funds by the end of this month, and then we spend it within the next 2 years, meaning that we annually have $227,250, which would be enough, what I would think, is to rent a space and to get more staff to actually do the work. So I don't understand why we would let it go, because once we let it go, it's so hard to get it back. And maybe even getting a grant writer to make sure that then, because I definitely Ray said this is not sustainable, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm sure that's the concern of the town, which is that if they were to build one or if they were to acquire a building, that they couldn't sustain it. Well, we've got enough funding to at least rent a space and enough funding to at least get some more staff to support youth empowerment courses that are going to come out of the survey, provide some support to Phil, and then get a grant writer to get some more money starting this year for the year after it's finished. So I don't think we should let it go. And I think the person we need to be talking to is Paul, not Melissa. Melissa's going to take her orders from Paul, or maybe Lynn, the town council president.
But this is the thing, Erica. I mean, we've tried to, I don't know how long now the CSSJC has been in existence. We've invited Paul to meet with us since our existence, and he has never come to meet with us. So, so that is the problem, is that he just, flat out rejects our invitations to meet and discuss these issues. And I want to correct, it's actually Donahue. Well, I mean, I don't know, she didn't put it out that way, but basically they used $45,500. I'm assuming $45,500 was towards the Donahue for this mapping, which what is that about? I don't know. We haven't gotten any results. We don't have anything, and now we have this money basically dangerously at a point of losing it to the for the Youth Empowerment Center. And as you were stating, Erica, I mean, the point of the matter is we've been discussing this. So basically you've been wasting our time for these past 2 years or 3. How long have we been in existence at this point?
We started in 2022. So yeah, it's been over like 2.5 years.
2.5 years that we've been in existence, that we've been talking about the same thing over and over again. We've discussed spaces with Pamela because there was a time where DEI was more involved with the center, but then I guess it was removed, even though, I'm still not clear when it was removed from their kind of portfolio. However, it's just like, now we're at this point where $454,000 plus is going to be lost because supposedly, oh, well, we don't know if we can sustain it. And so therefore, we're not just going to do anything. Wait, what? But yet you spent $45,500 to pay, I'm assuming to Donahue, or maybe Donahue and others, I don't know, Donahue to do some mapping that we haven't even seen the results from. So what is going on here? But Everald?
So I agree with everyone is saying, and I think what we do as a committee is we go with what Erica said. We know the money is there. We know that if the money is not earmarked, it will be lost. So I would suggest we send a letter from the committee to say, yes, we're in the juncture where the town is still doing surveys. And yes, we have no commitment on a physical structure. However, here are some ways we've identified that this money can be spent for youth empowerment, so it is not lost. And then we list the things, grant writer, or space with more staff in. Here are things that we were, as a committee, who's trying to get the Youth Empowerment Center developed, recommend this money be spent and not allocated and or earmarked for anything else other than youth empowerment. And then have them respond to say no. Yeah. and then that tells us about their commitment.
Yeah, so send it to like the town manager, town council members.
Yes. Well before the deadline for it to be expired. Yeah.
So I would suggest, and I can do this will be a task for me, but if I draft a letter and send it out to everybody, like quick turnaround so that it can be there for Monday, since that is their meeting.
Yeah,
Their meeting is on what day you're saying?
I
The
believe
15th?
it's Monday, what's Monday, the 16th?
Okay.
so that is this Monday.
Yes, so tomorrow or tonight, I can draft a letter. And
And then, yeah, and
request not replied all responses to me by Friday noon.
well, send it to you and me.
Okay,
Responses to Allegra and I by what you said, what did you say, Friday at noon?
Friday at noon. And then to send out for Monday.
But I do know though, I guess that, don't they need to get? I mean, so we're sending out on Monday, it's just for them to have it, but will they even see it? Because I thought that they get all of their documentation, like, I don't know, a few days before and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know, but I can also try and either go on Zoom and read it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that might be the better thing, so during the public comment, to read the letter. Because, and I don't know, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be at the town council, but Allegra, if you're able to, read the letter, I think that would be more important, because even if we send it to them, it probably won't get on the docket type of thing.
Yeah. So I can write the letter, send it to you, make
Mhm.
any edits, and I will still send it and put it in the public comment folder so
Yeah.
that the public knows that we've done that and
Yep.
send it to
So, and then both, yeah, send it and then read it.
and read. Okay. All right. So I think that's a good idea. It's an actionable step. And I think that it makes a lot of sense to propose that because
Mhm.
I mean, I know Amherst rents are expensive, but $227,000 a year hopefully would cover
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit of a
The
building.
thing is, this shows like the lack of commitment and the lack of seriousness in terms of wanting to establish the Youth Empowerment Center. Because when you're willing to let go of this amount of money because out of fear of lack of sustainability, then that does not send the message to the groups, right, that we would be servicing in terms of our young people, which is our greatest treasure in any town is our young people, and especially, focusing on BIPOC and marginalized young people. I mean, what message are we sending to them?
So are we okay to move on to Resident Oversight Board?
Sure. So with the Resident Oversight Board, as you all know, I've been attending the meetings. There's been 2 meetings that have occurred. One was on November 19th, which was the introductory meeting, and then one on December 10th. The 2 people who are kind of the facilitators for these meetings is Rabbi Deb, which I know a lot of you met before, because she had done the initial report around, again, quote unquote, the need for the Resident Oversight Board, which again, we thought was a delay tactic because the CSWG through the 7th generation information and the other information that we had, right, the town, meetings and surveys and so on and so forth, had already established the need for the Resident Oversight Board. But yet, still, they hired Deb, and Deb came in and with her report and her survey still, again, reemphasized and reaffirmed that there was a need for Resident Oversight Board. And so Deb is one of the facilitators. And then there's another facilitator, Brian Core. And he is someone that is, let me see here, his, because I want to just see. Yeah, so he has more of the background around, and he calls it, the civilian oversight boards, and that's what a lot nationwide it's called. But I want to let you all know the reason why we at CSWG did not call it a civilian oversight board is because civilian obviously has a connotations in terms of military and law enforcement kind of lingo, as well as, a lot of time kind of, talking about civilian citizenship, things like that, as opposed to resident, which is anyone, doesn't, regardless of your status, is included as a resident, right? And so he's connected to his experience with the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. And he was like, I guess, a president, board member, and so on and so forth for many years. So he has a lot of that background in terms of establishing, I guess he goes all over the country and works with a variety of municipalities around establishing civilian oversight boards. So he kind of brings, that expertise into it. And Deb, kind of is more kind of, helping to have the discussions. And I did share the list of people who are, part of it. So Philip and Pamela are part of it. Two town councilors, Shalini and Anika, are on there. We have Ronnie from the Human Rights Commission. And then we also have 4 members of the police. We have the, Chief Ting, this other police officer, Lindsay Carroll, who's the president of the Police Patrol Officers Association, Nicholas Chandler, president of the Police Supervisors Union, and then Molly Farber, again, from the Police Patrol Officers Association. Started out the meeting just kind of, table setting and kind of going over the history and so on and so forth. And we met for, about 3 hours. And then we met yesterday again for about 2.5 hours. And really a lot of the information has been, and I shared some of what we discussed in some of the slides, and then I'll share the other information that they sent to us for yesterday's meeting, because of course it was after already we had sent the agenda and the materials. And just so you all know, I'm going to be sharing, and I talked to Paul, and we had that discussion yesterday with the facilitators. I said, I'm about transparency. So whatever you all, we're talking about here, I want to share with the community. And I guess you said there's going to be a website where they're going to be sharing this information too. But yesterday we talked a lot about the different models. There's like a review model, which is basically like that kind of model that kind of reviews like internal investigations that the police does, any type of, communication that's made from the community, that type of thing. So it's more review, and a lot of civilian oversight boards kind of have that model, because that was kind of like how civilian oversight boards started. And then there's also the investigative model, right? Where the investigative model has more of that kind of investigative aspect of it. If there's a complaint, where you can make recommendations, request information, subpoena power, those types of things when a complaint, comes in. And with that model, it could be outside complaints, and there's some oversight boards that also deal with even like internal complaints, right, from the police and things like that. So kind of discussing, some of that. And then the other model that they had was the auditor monitor focus models that I guess is developing now. It's more kind of a more current oversight model, which kind of deals more with kind of looking at the systemic structure of the police, right? And kind of systemic issues and things like that. And then there's also a hybrid, right? So there's some oversight boards that are hybrid and kind of have a little bit of the 3, or have maybe the 2, or what have you, right? Depending on the culture and what the municipality or the town or the city is looking for, right? So I think, part of this is that the facilitators have been doing, rightfully so, is, of course, trying to get us to that point of, hey, we need to, and so, oh yeah, and the important thing is the charge, right? So we were charged by the town manager to create a proposal that would have a bylaws language for bylaws for creation of a resident oversight board that then the town manager would share with the town council. And then the town council would be the one to say, yes, we approve, or no, we don't approve, or we approve of some, or we don't approve of the others, and so on and so forth, all right? So the charges, again, is proposal for bylaws of the creation of this resident oversight board to the town council, okay? And so, you know, we've been having a lot of these conversations. For me, my part, and I do thank the facilitators for giving me an opportunity. So in the first meeting, I was able to kind of go over to CSWG recommendations, and specifically our recommendations around the what we recommended for the resident oversight board. And then I said it out loud to all the advisory folks that they need to read the CSWG reports in its totality, the 7th generation information, what LEAP had shared, and everything else, right? I'm not sure if they did or not, but I made a point of talking about that. And so the thing is going to be, because I guess to create this proposal, there's going to be, you know, a need to have some type of consensus in regards to it. So there's going to be 4 more meetings. There's going to be one on the 7th, which I can't attend because I will be away out of the country. Then there will be one on the 28th, February 11th, and then February 25th. At least that's as many meetings that we have as of right now. We might have others. But even yesterday, we started getting into it a little bit more. I mean, the thing is going to be in terms of obviously having some type of consensus, which is going to be interesting, especially given that, you know, of course, there's 4 police representatives who, you know, of course, are very kind of, you know, I'm saying they're open, but not sure if you know, where they'll be at in terms of this whole thing. I'm, as you all know, very vocal, and I'm going to continue to be vocal and bringing in the community's voice in terms of, you know, one, having an oversight board that is empowered, having an oversight board that is autonomous, that is independent, and is able to do the work that they need to do. You know, and I've already voiced that already a variety of times. And when I look at these models, one thing that I, you know, for me, as I'm formulating things, I'm like an investigative model along with that kind of auditor, you know, model where you're kind of looking at systemic structures, because that would deal with not only the resident oversight board, but it would deal with the part B of the CSWG recommendations, which I know the APD hasn't done much with, right, in terms of a lot of the reforms that need to happen within the APD itself for it to become an anti-racist department. And I said that yesterday at the meeting. I was just like, you know, an investigative plus this auditor model might be helpful because, and I said it with Chief Ting there, because I don't see any of what we recommended in the Part B having taken place, right? There hasn't been any movement from what I can tell, you know? You know, there's going to be some heated discussions, to say the least, within these next few meetings. I did, you know, question the facilitators, because I had said even before the other 4 meetings were put in place, I had stated that I was going to be away because of the holidays and stuff like that. But yet, you know, and I understand, obviously, there's going to be situations where not everyone can attend, but I did ask whether on the 7th there was going to be any decisions made, things like that. They assured me no, and that obviously that will come later in terms of kind of like actual creation of the proposal and the models and things like that. The other important thing that I think we need to think about, because obviously I want the community and I want us on CSSJC to help me, you know, bring our voices into this advisory group. The other thing that we want to think about is, where is this, the resident oversight board going to sit, is going to be important. So for me, I posed it to Brian, well, could it sit, you know, under the town council as opposed to the town manager, right? And then he was kind of like, well, I'm not sure, why couldn't it sit under the town manager, you know, not understanding the politics, right? And Amherst and everything, that a lot of times when, you know, a board is under like the town manager, there might be a lack of independence and autonomy in that way, as opposed to the town council, which is our highest kind of, you know, decision makers, I guess, within our town structure. why wouldn't it be more independent in terms of that way? Still part of town government, because I do understand that it would still need to be part of town government because they need to get the resources, right? They need to be fully budgeted, fully resourced. So if it's going to have an investigative model, they need to be able to hire investigators, have, you know, at least an admin to be able to, you know, administrate things, and a stipend as CSWG had recommended for the folks that are going to be part of the actual board, you know. So anyway, so we're dialoguing. You know, yesterday, you know, got into more conversations, and I told the facilitators, is just like, listen, we are going to have to talk about this. We can't be, you know, dancing around, you know, my time is very precious. I don't have time to dance around the issue too. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be spending, you know, 3 hours a pop in an evening after I've had a full day of work to dance around the issue. You know, we need to get to it, and we need to start, you know, talking through some of these things and get to where we need to get to. So, so we'll see. And I do understand it's a delicate balance, but for me, this is something that should have been in place already 3 years ago. So my patience is kind of thin, but yeah, I'm willing to continue to work through the process. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
I think my only comment would be, I am in agreement with you that it should be, given the importance and the value of what it's going to be, I would suggest that it would be under the town council as opposed to the town manager, because you are right, town council is our elected officials, and I think if there's any disputes or arguments or about anything, it shouldn't be, so to speak. I mean, everyone else, the police department rolls up to the town manager. Yeah, there needs to be some separation. Yeah. So that is my comment. Yeah.
Thank you. Other thoughts, comments, questions? Yeah, one of the things.
I was going to say, Deborah, I just want to thank you for stepping in and being our representative. Everything that you're saying resonates with me. The only question I have, I mean, I agree with too, town council is our highest body, and one would think that if we had a mayor, that's where it would go to, which again would be political. But yeah, I think there, to some extent, it's tough for department staff to be on there knowing that their big boss is the town manager. But I think there might be some administrative issues that might be the reason why it's done that way. And then the town council would have the last say, so that the town manager could review whatever the review board recommended. And if the review board's recommendation didn't go through, then the review board could go to the town council.
Yeah, and I get that, Erica, because obviously that could be with some of the kind of complaints investigated. But remember, this would also have a variety of other functions and things that they would be doing in terms of, especially around recommending kind of systemic change and looking at some of the policies, procedures, things like that. And if that's, you know, solely under the town manager, I don't know how much of that work would actually get done in the way we need it to get done, you know? So, so it's more things. Again, my thing is though, is to propose and to say, okay, well, why can't it? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just take it for granted and say, well, oh no, it can't, and this and this. No, I need you to show me why, you know, because we need to obviously have this board be something that actually has some power to do some things, right? And one of the things that actually one of the facilitators did bring up, because of how he's, you know, Brian has been around the country, is that there's a lot of cities and towns that benefit, you know, so that actually the police department benefit from having a board in place, because, right, once the board investigates and looks at things, maybe they're going to come back and say, actually, the police did a great job. You know, they did everything they were supposed to do and things like that, because they're independent, right? They're impartial, they're independent, they're looking at it. So a lot of police departments actually enjoy the fact that, that they're there, because it kind of gives credence and it gives, you know, you know, it kind of reaffirms the work that they're doing, as opposed to right now where things are behind closed doors and we don't know anything that's going on. And then there's that mistrust, right, from the community, and the community not knowing, right, and therefore not trusting. And so to build that trust, having an independent body could actually be a very good thing for the, you know, APD, you know, in the long term, right? But I understand that obviously it can be scary and on all of that, but we need to take the step, just like we had to take the step with CREST, right? It was scary. There was a lot of resistance, and, you know, of course, there still is. But I'm just like, but in the beginning, there was just so much resistance. But guess what? We made it through that, and it's working, and it's, you know, and it's continuing forward. The oversight board would be the same thing, right? So it's just about kind of, you know, putting it in place and figuring this out. Any other comments or questions?
I don't think so.
So I will keep you all posted. Like I said, I won't be able to be at the next one, but whatever other information that is shared, I think they are gonna give us that can't attend an opportunity to give feedback through email and all of that. So I'll be doing that. And then I will, you know, keep you all posted, you know, in between meetings if there's anything urgent, and or and on our monthly meetings.
Good. Thank you, Deborah, again for stepping up and taking on this role.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I know we have the proposal left on our agenda. I am going to share the screen. I am aware that it's 9:02. So I just, does anybody have time constraints, or can we move to this last agenda item?
I do have time restraints, but let's see how long it goes. Yeah.
And I don't know, to be fair to Philip and Camille, I don't know if they need to go, and I know they've passed the thing over to you, Allegra, when they need to go.
Yes, that would be, I think I am, let me just double check. I think I am, oh, I don't know how to do it while I'm screen sharing. Let's see. If I am not co-host and Camille or Philip need to leave and they would like to make me co-host, that would be great. And thank you for coming if you need to go.
You are a co-host.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So Erica put together this lovely proposal for us.
Thank you, Erica.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you,
you're
Erica.
You're welcome.
So Erica, do you want to kind of go over it?
Sure. I mean, I think it's pretty brief and pretty to the point. And I on purpose didn't put too much in there because I thought it'd be important for our members to have input into it, as well as give you an opportunity to also have a conversation if we moved forward with Dr. Love, because I know Dr. Love has done a lot of facilitation of bringing groups together and working through the group dynamics and really getting to a point of consensus. So I think the most important is that there are those of you right here who've been working a lot and have really spent a lot of time on this committee. And there are those of us who are brand new to this committee. And so I think it's just an opportunity. One is to just be on the same page with a shared understanding of one, how we got here. We know, the seventh generation did a lot of work in putting a report together with recommendations. You guys have been working towards moving those recommendations forward. So it's just really important for those of us who are here to know what's already been done, to celebrate what's been done, and then to think about, the goals that we still have and come to a consensus about where we want to, put our energy, where we want to move forward. And maybe even, you talk about member reports, but maybe even doing subcommittees, having some of us work on particular goals and strategies around particular goals so we can move faster around some of the areas that we really feel are very important. So it's one to, be on the same page and have a shared understanding of where we came from, where we want to go to, how we got here. And I think another big piece is really thinking about what our different roles are and the expectation of each other and ourselves. And then also just getting to know each other a little bit, just in terms of, who we are and what we bring to the table, as well as how we communicate with each other, collaborate with each other. And I think sometimes developing that relationship. So I'm really pushing for an in-person meeting, an in-person retreat, because I think, sometimes it's hard over Zoom to get to know each other beyond a face on Zoom, in terms of our communication style. What really is really, really important to us and what we're not going to let go. Which doesn't mean that, we're not listening to each other. It doesn't mean that we're not respecting each other's viewpoint, but there's some things that, are really important to each other. And I think having an opportunity through a retreat to work through that and then come out with very specific goals, very specific strategies, understanding each other's roles and understanding how we work with each other will really help us move forward quicker. So the next steps really is, I saw the fact that Dr. Love has been already contracted with the town, is to talk to the town manager to see if we can move forward with getting Dr. Love to work with us. I recommended that, that Deborah and Allegra talk to Dr. Love first, just out of respect in terms of where we want to go with this, and then possibly having Dr. Love come to one of the meetings to flesh out how we actually want to do the retreat and then get everybody's input. And that also means, resident participants, especially those who are really so engaged and committed to making sure that the CSSJ and CRESS and DEI are sustainable and are supported in this town. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Erica. I mean, I think you've done a great job and really coming together with an outline, and I think the steps that you have underneath are actionable. Do people have thoughts, questions, concerns, praise? Do you want me to keep sharing, or do you want me to put it away?
Yeah, you can take it off at this.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this was really good, proposal and outline. Just wanna, I guess, get from, Everett, just to kind of see if Everett will be on board too. And then we could take the next steps in terms of contacting, the town manager to kind of figure out, what would be the budget, or I don't know if Camille as our liaison could help with that. I'm not sure. But and then we need to figure out, of course, Barbara's availability, and then when it is that we would want to do this retreat. I also agree that it should be in person and it should be a full day, because to have a half a day is not going to be enough for us to be able to, do what we need to do. And then at the end of that retreat, we could kind of figure out what, if there's anything else we need to do, in terms of maybe having another retreat in 6 months or something like that. And also, I know we had also that conversation of possibly having 2 meetings a month, right? One meeting where it's kind of this one, where we're kind of dealing with, all the standing issues. And then another meeting where we're, inviting maybe speakers or dealing with some of the other things like goals and things like that. But I think we could probably have some of those outcomes, be some of the things that come out of the retreat in terms of things that we might do on a more regular basis. Because we know right now, given that, as like for me, as a member of CSSJC, I still feel, one of our major kind of, mandates almost and responsibilities is to kind of deal with, one, the CSWG recommendations, making sure that they're put into place, monitoring them, and then 3, making sure we're hearing the community's voice, right? Because we hear over and over again that our space is one of the spaces that, really shares knowledge and brings in the community questions and concerns, right? Even if they're not on right now, they're listening to our recordings, they're doing those things, they're coming to us, they're asking us about, what we're discussing. So these standing kind of items is something that it's not as if we can just be like, oh, no, we can't talk about them this month. You know what I'm saying? Because it wouldn't be kind of traditionally who we are, and kind of like ingrained and who CSSJC is. So I think kind of like having this retreat and, you know, talking about some of this would be very important. So we would have, you know, folks from CRES, DEI, and then like you were saying, Eric, invite any other community member, right? That would want to take part, right?
Yes.
Emerald, do you have any comments or
I'm sorry, I'm in agreement. Yeah.
cool? All right, so I guess
You want me to reach out to the town manager and ask about us being able to retain Barbara Love? for
yeah,
this week? I'll just send him a copy of your proposal, Erica, and then you know, ask him, you know, what would be the next steps, because we want to you know, have this. So what's the time span? Because I think it would be important for me to say to him, well, we want to have this around, I don't know, like February, you know, or whatever, because I think if we leave it open-ended, then it might not happen too. So I think it's better for us to kind of give a frame, a time frame that we want to work with, you know?
I would absolutely feel that it's important to either do in January, beginning of February. Especially, you know, once we start seeing what the town budget is, we may actually have even a goal around advocacy, you know? So yeah, depending on people's schedules, obviously, but I don't think any later than the beginning of February.
Okay.
I agree.
And you all agree?
I
That's what I was
think
gonna
so, yeah.
Good. All right. All right. So then I'll reach out, Allegra, I'll copy you on it, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll report back.
Great.
Thank you again, Erica.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank all of you for all the work you guys have been doing. It was easy to put it together.
I do have to drop.
All right. Well,
Oh, okay.
Well, I think I'll put the little one to sleep. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Before you go though, I do have a question. Because I know we meet on the second Wednesdays of the month. However, I'm going to be out of the country January 1st and 8th. So I wanted to ask whether it would be doable for us to meet on the 15th, so the 3rd, just for January, to meet on the 15th instead of the 8th. But obviously, if you all, you know, are not
I could do
available,
it.
then we'll just stick with the 8th. I would just miss it.
I can do it.
Okay. What about you, Evro?
I'm checking. I think I can also do it on the 15th.
Okay.
I am available
Allegra?
on the 15th.
You available?
Yep.
Okay. I know we don't have Pat, Lisette or Angelique. So what you all propose would,
Just send them an email and ask them.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can follow up.
Yeah, can you follow up and just
Yeah.
say that, you know, the 4 of us are available, and it would just be for January, and then we'd go back to our regular thing. But was just wanted to ask.
Alright, so I will do that. Everald, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Well,
You as well. We do have one additional public comment period ahead of us. If anyone would like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Not seeing any hands. Oh, I saw a hand.
mhm.
Hi, it's Lauren Mills again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi. Yes, I just had a few more comments that I want to share. I wanted to thank Philip from the DEI department for the newsletter. It was very good to see that and have the information about upcoming events and in one place. So I appreciate that. I do want to say that it is kind of difficult to sometimes make public comment, but I just feel like it's important at this time to share, my thoughts and feelings. So I wanted to know if the CREST budget has in it self-care for its employees. I wanted to know if that was a priority or something that, I don't know if it's under trainings but if there's actual budget for self-care, because there are so many responders that you mentioned who have lived experience and who might need extra care around doing the work that they're doing. I also, because the youth empowerment has been such of a mysterious topic, that I would really like to not see money be used for rental space, like for renting a space, because there is, a lot of space that programming can be done, such as the Jones, such as Amherst College and the Banks, and it might not be the ideal space, but for BIPOC uh, issues, or like a space for particular BIPOC issues. But I think that the money should be used more toward programming than for a cost of the space. So I just want to make sure that that was stated by a community member. And also to just reiterate that I really would like to be able to hear from other community members who may have ideas and hear their concerns. So I really would hope that there would be some more opportunities to hear from other members of the community about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And
Should I go?
there you are.
Oh, okay. Hi, it's Pat Ananibaka again. I just want to thank all of you tonight. Lots of information. I like the suggestion of retreat. I guess what I wanted to suggest is that for your group to consider making an appointment with the town council president for your committee to present at one of the town council meetings. You have Amherst residents, attend your meetings, expressing their concerns. I think you should take those concerns and the concerns that you guys have as well to the town council and demand what you think you need to move equity forward in this town. I think that's the strategy that CSWG did. Our co-chairs at the time made sure that they make time to present to the town council. You guys will needs to be on their face. Let them know that a segment of our population in this town are really hurting. I mean, it's great that this forum allows some people to feel safe to speak out. Ultimately, the decision makers, meaning the elected officials, need to make time for your committee. It's very, very important. That's what, your committee is all about, to monitor, address equity in our town. And the town council president needs to make time for you guys. That's all I want to say. Happy holidays. Thank you all for your time, for all that you do. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
How'd I shut this off?
Are there any things that we did not think of before 48 hours before the meeting? All right. It is 9:20 and I think we can adjourn. Can we vote with thumbs? Yes, okay. Thank you everybody for all your time and attention tonight, and we are adjourned at 9:21.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Holidays.